Welcome to my American History Notes Revised. Picking up where I left off the last time, talking about Roger Williams. So in the New World, Roger Williams' seemingly anti-authoritarian stance branded him as, quote, divinely mad. He moved around preaching at various churches, always standing precariously at the edge of the law. In 1634, King Charles I gave a commission to Archbishop Laud and others to revoke all the charters given to the new colonies, and new ones were written up. Permission was granted for tithes to be collected as taxes for the support of the clergy. In other words, a preacher would be paid as an employee of the state, with fines, imprisonment, or death being imposed as punishment for failure to do so. In 1635, the Boston court demanded that all men aged 16 and older had to take the, quote, oath of the freeman, which on the surface appeared to separate themselves from control by the church in England, but in reality made them abide by the laws of New England in both civil and religious matters. You had to be a member of the Congregational Church. One became a church member by being baptized as an infant. This church-state marriage remained in place in Massachusetts for over 160 years, even past the American Revolution. The results of this were homes stolen, property confiscated, and banishment. There were beatings and imprisonments, whippings and hangings. Roger Williams preached against taking the oath, was called before the Boston court in April 1635, but refused to retract his statements. Williams also spoke out against not just the oath, but also went on the record as the first colonist to recognize the terrible injustice of the so-called, quote, law of patents. It was arrogantly believed that a, quote, Christian king could lay claim to any lands, quote, discovered by Christian explorers. This divine right made South and Central America Spanish land, forcing the native populations to endure the savagery of the conquistadors. It also made North America English, Spanish, French, and Dutch lands, forcing those people to suffer savagery on their own. Williams, quote, the divinely mad preacher, insisted that the Indians owned the land and must be fairly compensated for their loss of it. He not only believed firmly in the responsibility of civil government to the governed, but objected to the doctrine of patents. Quote, the sin of the patents, Mr. Williams says, lay heavy on his mind, especially that part of which Christian kings were invested with a right by virtue of their Christianity to take and give away the land and countries of other men, unquote. Williams' rejection of patents got him the first rebuke from John Cotton. In America, in Crimson Red by James R. Beller, it is said, and I'm quoting, Williams was most thoroughly convinced that the untutored savages were lords of the soil on which the God of nature had planted them, and therefore took the utmost care that none of the inhabitants of this infant colony should occupy the least part of it until it was fairly purchased of the aboriginal proprietors. Now I want to talk about the Puritans and New Israel next. So we'll stop there. Please click like and subscribe or follow and share the video with someone else. Feel free to make comments. Thank you.